You've imagined the phone call everyone has somewhere in the slow part of a Tuesday commute, the daydream where the money arrives and everything changes. But the letter that actually comes is certified mail from a law office in Dayton, and it says your great aunt Edith has left you $150 million, mostly in stock her husband never sold. Edith, who drove a beige Mercury and reused aluminum foil. No party, no press release, not even a second phone call. Just you at the kitchen counter with a grocery receipt in your hand, $83 and change on one side, and on the back, in your own handwriting, a 1, a 5, and 7 zeros. The number doesn't feel like money yet. It feels like something sleeping that you're afraid to wake. Rule 1. Tell no one. The letter comes on a Tuesday, and on Wednesday you're on a video call with the estate attorney, a woman named Dana Whitaker, who speaks slowly and wears a watch with a small blue cabochon on the crown, the kind of watch that makes you assume things about her. She walks you through trusts and transfer timelines in the tone of someone reading a recipe, and the whole time your chest is doing something small and urgent, like a bird has gotten in and can't find the window. When the call ends, you stand in your kitchen and the floor feels slightly unfamiliar, the way a room does when you come home from a long trip. Nothing in the house has changed. Everything in the house has changed. Here's the part nobody warns you about. The moment money becomes visible, it stops being entirely yours. Not because people are greedy exactly, but because visibility rewrites every relationship it touches. The neighbor recalculates. The coworker recalibrates. The cousin starts a sentence with, "So I've been thinking," and the sentence never really ends. The requests are not the danger. The expectations are. You will still be invited to things, but you will be invited differently, and every gift you give will be weighed against a number, and every gift you don't give will be weighed against it harder. That first week, you actually rehearse telling your closest friend, standing in the shower, running the sentence forward like a chess move, and every version of the conversation ends in the same place. A friendship with a third person in it now, and the third person is the money, so you don't. And the second person you have to keep the secret from is the old version of you, the one who already spent this money years ago in daydreams, who has a list, who has had a list since high school, who is standing just behind your eyes waiting to be handed the keys. Currently, researchers at Ohio State who followed people after they inherited money found that roughly half of every inherited dollar gets spent or lost, and among people who inherited 6 figures or more, nearly 1 in 5 ended up with none of it. You read that once, years ago, and thought it couldn't possibly apply to careful people. Now you understand it was never about carefulness. It was about announcement. The money that gets announced gets claimed. At the funeral reception, your cousin Craig works the room in a rented suit, asking, lightly, the way you'd ask about whether Edith left anything. He has a laugh ready either way. You tell him the estate is complicated, which is true, and he nods and moves on to the shrimp. You don't say anything more, so on Thursday, you call Dana back and tell her to park everything somewhere dull and government-backed for 90 days while you think. Then you drive home in your 2011 Accord, the one where the heater fan only works on setting 3, so the cabin is either silent and cold or warm and roaring, no in between. You buy groceries. The receipt says $83 and change. It doesn't feel like becoming rich. It feels like being handed a sleeping animal and told to keep the house quiet, which raises the first real question. If the money isn't allowed to change what other people see, what happens the first time you look at your own ordinary life with $150 million sitting behind your eyes? Rule 2. Audit the life you already have. It's a Sunday in February, 7:04 in the morning, and the coffee is still too hot to drink, so you open the banking app instead. The way you'd open a door in your own house you haven't opened in years. You are not looking for the inheritance. That money is parked, sleeping, elsewhere. You are looking at the small machinery of your existing life, and your shoulders have climbed somewhere near your ears without asking permission. This is the thing nobody explains when they talk about windfalls. A windfall doesn't land on a blank page. It lands on top of whatever your money was already doing. And most of what money does It does quietly, automatically, in the background of your life. The streaming services, the storage unit you rented during the move that ended 4 years ago, $67 a month for boxes you could not name under oath. The app that was free for 2 weeks in 2022. None of it announced itself. None of it ever will. It just draws, softly, monthly, forever, dressed as a slightly better version of your life. The storage charge stopped being a decision sometime around its third renewal. Now it just feels like Tuesday. You scroll further back than you meant to. There's a rhythm to your own history in there. Raises absorbed within 2 statements, each one arriving clean and leaving quietly, converted into slightly nicer groceries and a slightly faster phone before you ever met it. Nobody stole anything. Nothing was ever wrong. It was all just water finding its level, month after month, and you were the level. Currently, when researchers ask people to guess what they spend on subscriptions each month, the average guess is $86. When those same people itemize it line by line, the real number averages $219. You do the itemizing with your coffee finally cool enough to drink, and you land at $219 almost to the dollar, which would be funny if it were someone else. The point is not the money. You could fund these subscriptions for 10,000 years. The point is that you didn't know. And a person who doesn't know what their life costs doesn't own their life. They lease it. Kevin from work knows what he pays, at least for the big thing. He just moved into the new building downtown, the one with the gym on the 4th floor and the rooftop nobody uses, and his rent went up $640 a month. He calls it an investment in himself, and he says it with his whole chest, happy, lighter somehow. You don't bring it up again. That afternoon, you cancel 4 subscriptions and keep the 2 you actually love, and you change nothing else. It doesn't feel like a win exactly. It feels like finding a slow leak in a tire, that specific small relief of a hiss going quiet. No one will ever know you did this. There's no photo to post of a canceled storage unit. Nobody claps for this. But small leaks are the easy physics. Anyone can patch a hiss in private. The harder physics is what money does the moment other people can see it, the way it changes weight when it becomes an object in a driveway, which is a thing you learn on a Thursday from a photo of a truck. Rule 3. Learn the real price of visible things. The text lands on a Thursday afternoon in the group chat, a photo taken low from the front bumper the way dealerships do it. Marcus got the truck, a dark blue Silverado, towing package he has nothing to tow, $1,014 a month for 75 months, and he types, finally, with 3 fireworks emojis, and something in you leans toward it before you decide anything. An old reflex, a hand reaching for a doorknob in a house you moved out of. You know that lean. You've lived in that lean. Here's what's actually happening. A visible purchase is never priced only in dollars. It's priced in the audience it creates. The truck doesn't just cost $1,014 a month. It costs the version of Marcus who now has to keep being the guy with the truck, at every job, through every repair, in every parking lot where someone nods at it. The dollars are the down payment. The audience is the interest. But you do the other math too, the older math. On the back of the grocery receipt you still haven't thrown away. Your father worked 31 years at the plant and cleared about $26 an hour after taxes at the end, and he was proud of that number. The truck stickers at $71,400. At your father's wage, that truck is roughly 2,700 hours, 70 weeks of his life, standing on concrete, before insurance, before gas, before the first oil change. You sit with that for a while. Not judgment exactly, just a unit conversion nobody teaches, dollars into hours into a specific man's back. He drove Buicks he bought at 4 years old with cash, and he'd have looked at that truck the way he looked at anything, patiently, without envy, doing the hours in his head. Once you've done the conversion, you can't undo it. Every price tag becomes bilingual. The number is still there in dollars, but underneath it, faint as a watermark, there's a second number in somebody's mornings. And the payment has its own quiet trick, which is that it doesn't stay loud. Right now, $1,014 is an event for Marcus, a thing he feels leaving. By March, it will just be a line, automatic, unexamined, one more thing his paycheck does on the way through. It will just feel like Tuesday. Currently, the average payment on a new vehicle in this country is $770 a month, and nearly 1 in 5 new car loans now runs past $1,000. Your Accord has been paid off for 9 years. The fan still only works on 3. At lunch, Marcus is happier than he's been in months, actually happier, telling you the towing capacity like a poem he memorized. He's not wrong to want what he wants. You just want something different now. You don't say anything, and it costs you nothing to say nothing. And you notice that, the not costing. That week, the Accord starts knocking over bumps, and the shop quotes $847.12 for the front suspension, and the guy at the counter says, kindly, that at some point it's not worth fixing. You fix it. Driving home, warm air roaring on 3, you understand you've kept the car past the point of frugality and into something else, something closer to loyalty, which leaves the strangest question so far. If the rule is invisibility and the money can't become trucks or rooftops or anything with an audience, then where does $150 million actually go? What does that much money even look like when it's not allowed to look like anything? Rule 4. Make the money boring. It starts on a Wednesday when the quarterly email arrives from Dana's office with the subject line Q2 summary, no exclamation, no color, an attachment you could mistake for a utility bill. And it ends, or almost fails, at 2:17 in the morning a few nights later when you wake with the absolute certainty that the money needs something from you, that it must be watched, tended, moved, performed. The house is silent. The ceiling offers nothing. The feeling sits on your sternum like a cat. That's the whole design, by the way. Not of the money, but of the itch. Everything you have ever seen about wealth was loud. Screens of red and green, men shouting at tickers. And so some part of you believes that managing money must feel like flying a helicopter. It doesn't work that way. The fortunes that survive are not the ones that were flown like helicopters. They're the ones that were plumbed like houses, pipes in the walls, doing their one job in the dark for 40 years. Real structure is almost insultingly dull. Broad index funds that own a slice of nearly everything, so no single disaster can find all of you at once. Treasuries that pay you for patience. Enough cash to make every emergency a logistics problem instead of a crisis. An account you rename Household Main because a boring name attracts no drama, makes no promises, invites no midnight checking. At 2:17 a.m., you get up anyway, that first restless week, and stand in the kitchen with a glass of water and the certain knowledge that people in movies would be doing something right now. Then you go back to bed, and that turns out to be the whole discipline, the entire secret skill of managing more money than you can spend, standing in a kitchen, doing nothing, going back to bed. Dana says it plainly on the phone, the blue crown of her watch catching the light as she waves a hand. Most quarters, the best thing you can do is nothing. You notice the watch again and file her, again, in the wrong drawer. Currently, just under 6 in 10 American adults own any stock at all. You now quietly own a small piece of almost every company whose products fill your kitchen, and from the outside it looks like absolutely nothing, which you're beginning to understand is the point. The portfolio doesn't need your adrenaline, it needs your absence. Kevin, meanwhile, has found a trading app. He posts screenshots in the group chat when he's up, green rectangles at midnight, and posts nothing at all on the other days, and the silence between screenshots is its own kind of data. You mute the thread and feel no urge to unmute it. So you finish the boring work. Statements switched to quarterly. Alerts off. Phone face down on the nightstand where it can't glow at you. The money begins to do the only job you've given it, compounding quietly, automatically in the background of your life, like a furnace you trust enough to forget. Nothing marks the moment as significant except the small private knowledge that you built it. Still, a system like this is only a theory until weather arrives, and weather always arrives, usually on a Thursday, wearing a calendar invite with a vague name. Rule 5. Let the floor hold you. The invite appears on a Thursday at 9:40 in the morning. Team update, 4:30, no agenda, conference room B, and everyone knows, the way a herd knows, before anyone says anything. At 4:30, the fluorescent light hums like a waiting room, and a man from corporate you've never met uses the word restructuring 4 times, And by 4:41, your entire department no longer exists. You and Marcus both, same storm, same hour, same cardboard boxes from the same supply closet. You watch your own hands on the table and they are calm, and you notice them being calm the way you'd notice a stranger being calm with a kind of distant curiosity. Not relief exactly, something quieter than relief, with no adrenaline in it at all. In the parking lot, Marcus is doing math on his phone with his thumb, jaw working, and he says, not really to you, that the truck payment hits in 9 days. 9 days. The severance is $11,300, and you catch yourself, out of pure habit, calculating how many months that covers, and then you remember, and the remembering feels like stepping onto a stair that isn't there, downward, softly, onto solid ground. Here's the part that matters, and it has nothing to do with the inheritance. Before the letter ever came, back when the whole operation was a $61,800 salary and a spreadsheet, you had built 3 months of expenses in a savings account with a boring name. That was the floor. Currently, more than half of Americans could not cover a $1,000 emergency from savings, and a third would have to borrow just to absorb it. Your floor was already holding before Edith's lawyers ever found your address. That was the wealth. The rest is just more of it. The next 2 weeks run like a controlled experiment nobody signed up for. Marcus lists the truck on Saturday, 11 months into a 75-month loan, and learns the word underwater from a dealer who says it gently. He'll take a $6,200 loss to get out from under it, and he takes it because 9 days is 9 days. Meanwhile, you update a resume at your own kitchen table with coffee that has time to cool, and you notice that you're choosing what to apply for the way you'd choose off a menu, slowly, on taste. Same layoff, same Thursday, same fluorescent hum. The storm was identical. The boats were not, and the difference in the boats was built years before the weather, in transfers so small and so regular that no one, including you, ever considered them news. Nobody claps for this. You take Marcus to lunch the next day and you buy, which he allows because unemployment makes everyone's rules flexible, and you let him talk about the truck, the payoff, the guy who lowballed him. He'll be okay, eventually, and he's not a fool, and you don't say anything about the letter. You just leave a tip that's generous but not suspicious and drive him home with the fan roaring on 3, and he laughs at the fan, and it's the first time he's laughed in 2 days. Which leaves only the question the money has been asking since the very first Tuesday. If its job is not to be seen, and its job is not to be spent, then what exactly is it for? You find out at 12:20 on a Friday night. Rule 6. Let it disappear. The phone buzzes on the nightstand at 12:20 a.m., face down but rattling, and it's your sister's name, and her voice has that flatness that is worse than crying. Her husband, a hospital in Phoenix. They don't know yet. And here is what happens, and pay attention to what doesn't happen. You open the airline app and book the 6:05 a.m. flight, and at no point do you look at the price. Not because the price is nothing, because the price is not present. You do not check a balance. You do not run a calculation. There is no calculation running anywhere in you. You pack a bag with both hands and your whole mind. In the waiting room, the light hums the same hum as conference room B, and you hold your sister's coffee while she signs things, and you are entirely there, all of you, nothing in your head doing math. Somewhere over the course of that long fluorescent morning, it becomes clear that this was the product all along. Not the truck money, not the rooftop money, not the scene money. This. The absence of the second thought at the exact moment a second thought would have cost the most. Currently, about 2 in 3 Americans say they would worry about covering their living expenses if their income stopped tomorrow. What you bought in Phoenix, without noticing the purchase, was the silence where that worry lives. You buy her a sandwich she doesn't eat and then, hours later, watch her eat it cold without noticing, and at some point, she falls asleep sideways against your shoulder in the vinyl chairs and you sit very still so she can stay there. The flight costs $612 or it cost $1,200. You genuinely do not know and you will never look it up, and that not knowing is the most expensive thing you have ever owned. Her husband is okay. It takes 4 days to be sure, and you stay all four, and no part of you glances at a calendar or a balance the entire time. Weeks later, Dana asks you to lunch to sign the last of it, and she arrives in an 11-year-old Outback with a cracked bumper, and you must make a face because she laughs. The watch, she says, touching the blue crown, was her mother's, the only thing she kept. She's had clients for 20 years, she says, and most of them she manages, and a few of them she recognizes, and she tells you she keeps 6 months of expenses in plain cash savings even now, even knowing better, because knowing better isn't the point. Nice things are fine, she says, once you know their real price. She was never the person you filed her as. She was simply further down the same road, sitting beside you the whole time. Driving home, you stop for gas, and when you open your wallet, you find the grocery receipt, soft at the folds now, $83 and change on one side and that handwritten number on the other, a 1, a 5, and 7 zeros. On the first Tuesday, it read like a secret you had to guard. Now it reads like something smaller and stranger, a receipt in both directions, proof of purchase for a life that was already yours. Nobody claps for this. The fan still only works on 3, and you've decided you like the sound. Tomorrow is a Monday, and it will be relentlessly ordinary. Same coffee, same mug, same warm roar down the same road, and the money will do what furnaces do, quietly, automatically, in the background of your life. It won't fix Monday. It never fixed a single Monday. Your sister still calls with hard news sometimes, and grief still lets itself in without wiping its feet. The number in the account doesn't know your name. That was never its job. This week, something routine will happen to you, whoever you are, whatever's in your account. A purchase will almost happen and then won't. There will be a small pause between the wanting and the reaching, half a second, unphotographed, unwitnessed. Notice that pause. That pause is the entire architecture, built one boring week at a time, and no one will ever see it from the street. From the inside, it doesn't feel like architecture. It just feels like Tuesday. And maybe that's the last thing Edith knew, the thing you're only now learning, folding the receipt back into your wallet at a gas station nobody remembers. The secret was never the number. The number was just the loudest thing you ever had to keep quiet. Because when the life you're protecting and the life you're living finally become the same life, there's one question the letter never answered. If no one ever finds out, not Craig, not Kevin, not the old version of you still waiting to be handed the keys, then who, exactly, have you been keeping the secret from?